Hello again, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us for this Monday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service, and I'll be hosting today's show on this 19th day of April 2021. Up first here is the hazardous weather graphic, and what was a watch is now a warning there for the eastern Beaufort Sea coast. That's a blizzard warning, and that's for, let's see here, the time frame on the blizzard warning is for tonight through 7 p.m. Tuesday, tomorrow, and looking for westerly winds gusting to 50 miles an hour will be increasing with gusts of 50 miles an hour. Now create areas of blowing snow that reduce visibilities to a quarter mile at times during that time frame. And winter weather advisory out for the northeastern Brooks Range, which includes Anatuvik and Adigan, Galbraith Lake, Sagwan, Franklin Bluffs, and those areas. And that's out out for tonight from 6 p.m. tonight until noon Tuesday. And looking at northerly winds 30 to 40 miles an hour with 2 to 5 inches of snow expected. And that'll, of course, be blowing around in the wind and reduce visibilities to a half mile at times through that time frame. Otherwise, that's it for the warnings, watches, and advisories around the state. So satellite imagery showing a lot of clear skies out over the Bering Sea, a lot of breaks, some clouds over the area from Adak out to just west of Shemya, but some good clearing as well. Looks like some clearing moving into the Pribilofs. Northern Bering Sea clear. That's really just sea ice you're seeing as the white there along the Yukon Delta coast and near St. Matthew Island northward into the Arctic, of course. And some clouds along the Arctic coast and westerly flow there, especially on the western side, a little bit to the eastern areas there. And clear skies, sunshine again over much of the interior, and a frontal boundary bringing some mid and high level clouds into the southern Kenai Peninsula, Kachemak Bay around Homer, and also winds kicking up out of the east to 25 miles an hour, 25 to 30 miles an hour at Homer. And Kodiak picking up a little bit of light rain, but they've only had about 2/100ths of an inch. That front really weak there. And that pushing up toward the North Gulf Coast and also right along the coast of the Panhandle, and then backs around into the eastern Aleutians there, and that's where the strongest winds are occurring. Nikolsky had peak wind gusts about 60 miles an hour out of the north today, with 35 mile an hour wind gusts across Bristol Bay, gust of 40 knots actually King Salmon, and 35 miles an hour were the wind gusts up over the northwest interior, Noatak Valley, northern Seward Peninsula, and into the Selawik Valley. Breezy there with northerly winds as a push of cold air and the system comes down from the north once again. Otherwise, lighter winds over southern Alaska, temperatures rising well into the 60s and edging it up towards 70 degrees both at Palmer and Butte this afternoon. And not so warm over the southeast coast or the North Gulf Coast of what you saw yesterday, but still pretty nice with a lot of sunshine. And let's see today's chart showing the clouds starting to increase there along the coast there of the Panhandle. That front offshore really weak and is actually going to just wash out, dissipate here shortly if it hasn't already. It's really much just a band of mid and high level clouds, maybe some lower conditions as well. And over the interior, we're looking at the winds are increasing, as I mentioned, over the northwest interior areas, and also down across the Seward Peninsula. And northerly winds, again, the strongest winds were over at Nikolsky there on the backside of that low system, with some rain, light rain into Kodiak, and maybe some showers up to the Barren Islands, possibly just reaching the southern Kenai Peninsula. But let's see, precipitation amounts, about the heaviest one reported was at, 4/10 of an inch there, Iliamna and King Salmon, with gusts of 40 miles an hour out of the north and northwest. Otherwise, for tonight, we'll see periods of rain or moisture possible North Gulf Coast, blizzard warning eastern Arctic coast, otherwise not much change. And then a little bit better with the trough coming down from the northwest, looking at The snow-blowing snow and the blizzard conditions continuing all day for the eastern Bowen Sea coast, but improving for the northeastern Brooks Range. Chance of moisture, eastern interior, in the form of either rain or snow, depending on your elevation, your latitude, and the time of day. That could get all the way down to the North Gulf Coast. And unsettled for Kodiak and the Alaska Peninsula. And then another system develops and brings a little bit more potent round of rain and wind into the Alaska Peninsula, eastern Aleutians, and even Kodiak Island during the day Wednesday. Looks like the heaviest wind and rain will be over the Alaska Peninsula and the eastern Aleutians, with lighter amounts up over Bristol Bay. But high pressure builds back in behind the disturbance moving through tomorrow over the eastern interior, and we're back into mostly sunny skies, maybe some lingering flurries over the eastern Bowen Sea coast. Sunshine for the Panhandle and all the way Prince William Sound northward to at least the central western Arctic coast. Northern Bering Sea looking really good. Chance of rain and Aleutians. Lows for tonight in the lower to mid 30s there, southern Alaska. Maybe some upper 20s thrown into near 40 along the North Gulf Coast there. Kodiak, Homer, Seward, and even Yakutat. Upper 30s, lower 40s for Bristol Bay and the southeast coast. Teens and 20s over the central interior, single numbers out over the Brooks Range to the Arctic coast, mid-teens for the northern Bering Sea, Seward Peninsula, and 30s for the Bering Sea and the Aleutians. And the highs tomorrow near 50, Copper River Basin into Prince William Sound, 45 to 55 for south central Alaska, 45 to 50 Bristol Bay, upper 40s to mid 50s for the Panhandle, and in the 40s central interior, 20s for the Brooks Range, and teens and 20s for the Arctic coast, lower 30s northern Bering Sea, lower 40s over the Aleutians. Lows this Wednesday morning in the 20s to lower 30s southern Alaska, but mid to upper 30s Bristol Bay, upper 30s lower 40s for the Panhandle, and colder for the Tanana Valley, down to 5 to 15 for your lows, maybe a little colder, and a shade below zero there for the northeastern Brooks.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
First line weather graphic for Tuesday morning. IFR, their central Arctic coast into the North Slope, marginal VFR. Just about all of the North Slope, eastern Beaufort Sea coast to the crest of the Brooks Range, south of the mountains of VFR. Noatak Valley, right on down toward the Kuskokwim Delta, and then into the IFR for the Pribilofs, down across eastern Aleutians, western and southern Alaska Peninsula, and also a band extending northeastward there across Togiak Bay and into the southern Kuskokwim Valley, northwest Bristol Bay, otherwise Kodiak Island, marginal with IFR there for Fognak Island, into the Barrens and up along the coast of the Kenai Peninsula into Prince William Sound, eastward along the North Gulf Coast, and just off the Panhandle for the afternoon. We've got, let's see, VFR, about the same pattern. Marginal VFR, though, a little improvement up on the Arctic coast there in the North Slope, with marginal VFR now in the eastern areas. VFR to the west, Brooks Range VFR southward there to about Eagle, and then southwest. Looks like some IFR, southern slopes of the central Alaska Range. IFR also Prince William Sound, Coast Range, southeastern or southern Copper River Basin, on down to just about Elfin Cove, but the remainder of the Panhandle will stay VFR through the day. East side of Kodiak, IFR, southern coast of the Alaska Peninsula, and the southern coast of the Fox Islands, but solid IFR from Nikolsky westward to Shimianatu and northward across the Pribilofs, but south of St. Matthew Island. And then for Wednesday afternoon, we've got IFR again over the, or let me bounce forward there. Tuesday morning, IFR up north of the Pribilof Islands, in across the southwest coast to almost western Cook Inlet. Otherwise, areas of marginal VFR there south and east of the Alaska Range, with some areas of VFR thrown in, and VFR again for the Panhandle, marginal for the North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound. Most of Kodiak Island, IFR, a little better to the west. And for Wednesday afternoon, good VFR for just about all of interior Alaska from the Arctic coast southward. Then southern Cook Inlet, or just extreme southern Kenai Peninsula, marginal VFR up into possibly southern Prince William Sound, definitely Montague Island. And then also increasing marginal VFR slowly, but right along the coast of the southern Panhandle. East side of Kodiak Island, IFR, Sitkinak IFR, southern Bering Sea from the Pribilof southward across all of the Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula, solid IFR, VFR to the north there from St. Matthew Island, St. Lawrence Island, right up into the Chukchi Sea. Passes Anatuvik, marginal becoming VFR. Same trend for Adigan. Marginal becomes VFR in the afternoon. Lake Clark and Merrill, mostly marginal throughout the day. Rainy might break out to VFR at times, possibly, but windy, marginal. And looks like IFR for Isabel, at least at some point in the day tomorrow. And for Mentasta, though, optimistically go with VFR. Be clouds, but should stay high enough that it won't reach the threshold for marginal conditions. Tanita, marginal VFR. Portage, IFR. Eastern entrance, otherwise marginal. And Chilkoot and White, VFR. Freezing levels. High pressure retreating into Western Canada, upper level high pressure, taking the higher freezing levels with it. So now we're 2,000 to 4,000 feet across southern Alaska and 2,000 feet or less, northern half of Alaska, and about 6,000 for the Panhandle. And moving on to icing, we've got just a slight chance of some light to very isolated moderate rime, mixed icing, Alaska Peninsula, eastern Aleutians, and also some icing, elevated icing potential there for the eastern interior from just north of Yakutat up to the Eagle area and maybe up to Old Crow. Jet stream, high pressure Russian Far East, upper level low southwest Banks Island. So in between those two, we've got northerly winds, 115 knots, pulling another round of cold air into the northeast interior. Those winds diminish, turn northeast to 75 knots south of Nunivak Island. West-southwest 75 knots there, coming across the Gulf of Alaska and then diving southeastward just off the coast of the Panhandle. 9,000 feet easterlies, Bering Sea, 35 to 45 knots, north-northwest 35 to 45 for the northern half of the state. Light variable winds, southern Alaska, light for the Panhandle. 3,000 feet easterlies, 30 to 40 knots over the Bering Sea. And light over the interior, except maybe northwest up to 35 knots for the eastern Arctic coast. Turbulence-wise, up eastern Beaufort Sea coast, considerable moderate turbulence, and also from Kodiak Island, the Alaska Peninsula, and the Aleutians westward to Adak, considerable moderate turbulence.
Hi, my name is Hallie, and I'm a meteorologist. I work over there. This is a National Weather Service. Inside, there are many meteorologists who study the weather and make the forecast, so you know what the weather is going to be like for your week. We have many tools that help us make the forecast. See that tall tower behind our office? Let's take a closer look. That's called a radar, and it helps us to see if any rain or snow or thunderstorms are coming. It kind of looks like a giant golf ball from the outside, but it looks much different inside. Do you want to go see what it looks like up there? Since the radar is so tall, there are lots of stairs we have to climb to get to the top. Everybody stand up and let's pretend we are climbing the stairs together. Let's go! You're doing great. Almost there. I can see the top now. We did it. Okay, now that we are at the top, let's sit back down and check out what's inside. See the spinning antenna? It spins in circles all day and all night, looking for rain or snow or thunderstorms. It can see storms hundreds of miles away. When the radar sees a storm, it sends that information to our computers, phones, and TVs, so we can know when it's coming. Let's go inside the office and see if we see anything on the computers. Uh-oh, it looks like the sky is getting dark. I wonder if a storm is coming. Let's go inside and find out. It looks like my friend Taylor is working today. Hi, Taylor. We decided to come in because it was getting very dark outside. Can you show us what you're working on today?
Of course. Remember when you were up in the radar tower earlier? Well, the radar saw a storm developing in the distance. It sent that information to our computer so we can look at it here. See the storm on the screen? Today I am watching this storm to make sure that it doesn't get too big and become a severe thunderstorm. A severe thunderstorm can make big hail or strong winds or even a tornado. Right now it doesn't look too bad, but remember that even thunderstorms that are not severe can be dangerous because of the lightning. Remember that when thunder roars, head indoors.
Thanks, Taylor. That's good advice. Sounds like it was a good thing we came inside. I think I saw my friend Becky working over there when we came in. Let's go see what she is up to. Hi, Becky. What are you working on today?
Today I am working on the forecast for the week. I use tools like Weather Satellite. Satellite helps me to see where it is cloudy. Looks like it's pretty cloudy out there right now. I also use tools like weather models. Weather models help to show me what kinds of weather are coming next. This map is showing high pressure moving toward our area, so it is going to be sunny next week.
Cool. Thanks for showing that to us, Becky. It was fun to see how Becky was making the forecast for next week using the weather models. But I wonder how those weather models know what it's going to be like next week. I bet my friend Katie knows. Let's go outside and talk to her. But first, let's double check with Taylor and make sure it's safe to go outside now. Hi, Taylor. We were going to go outside and see our friend Katie, but we wanted to make sure the storms are gone. Is it safe to go outside now?
Good news, Hallie. The storms have moved away from our area and the sunshine has returned. It is safe to go outside.
That sounds great. Let's go see Katie. Hi, Katie. We have a question for you. We were just inside talking to Becky, and she showed us the weather models that said it was going to be sunny next week. But how do the weather models know?
That's a great question, Hallie. I will show you. See this big balloon? We send this balloon up into the sky 2 times a day, every day of the year. We tie a string to the balloon and attach a weather instrument to it. It also has a parachute, so it can come back down after it pops. Let me show you. Here is our weather instrument. It is called a radiosonde. It kind of looks like a funny-looking turtle, but it can tell us lots of useful information. See the long part with the wire sticking out of the side? It is able to tell us the temperatures as it goes up through the sky. See the smaller instrument sticking out of the side? The one that looks like a half circle? This instrument can tell us how much moisture is in the air, which helps us know if it's going to rain. On the inside of the instrument, there is also a sensor to tell us the pressure. We also know how windy it is by how far away the balloon blows before it pops. I'm going to get ready to send the balloon into the sky. Come with me. After we send the instrument up into the sky with the balloon, all of that weather information our little instrument collects is sent to the weather models. Weather balloons are sent up all over the country so that the weather models have lots of information to help us make the forecast. There are 91 National Weather Service offices in the United States that send up weather balloons 365 days a year. Okay, I think it's time to send it into the sky. Ready to let go? 1, 2, 3!
Wow, thanks for showing us that, Katie. It was fun to learn about how the weather balloon collects information for the weather models. Thanks for joining me today. It was fun to see the National Weather Service and meet some of my friends. I hope you learned some interesting things about the weather. The rest of my friends from the National Weather Service should be here soon to say goodbye. But before that, I wanted to make sure you knew that you could always find out more about the National Weather Service and meteorology online at www.weather.gov/education. Be sure to check it out. Thanks for joining us today. We hope you had fun. See you next time.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Welcome back to our show. In today's marine weather segment, the sea ice edge extends southward to just north of St. Matthew Island. The problem is that we've had a persistent northerly flow over a prolonged period, and this ice is going to begin to shift back toward the southwest thanks to high pressure that will be building from eastern Russia across the northern half of Alaska, and a tightening pressure gradient across southwest Alaska and the eastern Aleutians in response to low pressure that will be sitting there in the northern Pacific. As a result, we will see the sea ice begin to, at least the leading edge, advance back toward the southwest as we head through the next couple of days. So for the inner waterways of the southeast, we are looking for winds out of the northwest at 10 to 15 knots from Petersburg down to Ketchikan, waves 2 to 3 feet, though in Lynn Canal. Winds out of the south, 15 knots, waves running a few feet. And along the coast, west to northwest winds, 10 to 20 knots, waves generally running right around 9 feet. On Wednesday, flow will be more northerly across the inner waterways, upwards to 30 knots, coming down there through Lynn Canal with 6-footers and 15 knots and 3-footers at Ketchikan, whereas over the Gulf offshore waters, winds will generally be out of the north, though more of an easterly component west of Yakutat, with waves running 6-7 feet. Across south central areas, Prince William Sound will see easterly winds 10 knots, waves a couple of feet. And the Cook Inlet, generally easterly winds 10 upwards to 20 knots, with waves running 6 to 9 feet from the mouth of Cook Inlet to just northeast there offshore of Kodiak. And then on Wednesday, look for generally east to northeast winds across the area. Prince William Sound, 10 knots with 2-footers. Upwards to 30 knot east winds, the mouth of Cook Inlet and off of Kodiak Island, with waves of 7 to 10 feet. And then across the Alaska Peninsula and Kodiak Island, easterly winds on Tuesday, 25 to 30 knots. Waves on the Pacific and Gulf side running 9 to near 10 feet. Upwards to 9 feet at Cold Bay, though 3 feet there north of Port Hayden. And as that low cranks up a bit, we will see the pressure gradient strengthen. And on Wednesday, winds will be upwards to 45 knot gales on the Gulf and Pacific side, with waves as high as 15 to 20 feet. On the Bering side, 40 knot gale winds out of the east north of Cold Bay and Sand Point on the Bering side, with waves of 13 feet. And then across the eastern Aleutians, winds will be out of the north, generally 30 knots with waves 9 to 12 feet. Lesser winds the further west you go, especially west of Kiska, 15 knots out of the northeast, 5-footers. And again, strongest winds on Wednesday will be across the eastern Aleutians with winds of 30 upwards to 35 knots and waves running 8 to as high as 12 feet, especially up in the Bering side. And then over the ice, the pack ice will see winds of 25 knots out of the northeast, but over the open waters, northeast winds upwards to 30 knots, forcing the ice edge to shift back toward the southwest. And on Wednesday, maybe not quite as strong a winds, though still holding up out of the northeast at 30 knots at St. Paul and St. George, with waves running around 10 feet. And then finally, along the Arctic coast, we are looking for more westerly winds, around 20, even upwards to 35 knots at Katavik. And then off to the west, we are looking for the winds trying to turn back toward the south-southwest, especially north of Point Hope, still remaining, though, north-northeast as you get from around Kotzebue Sound into the Seward Peninsula. And on Wednesday, look for winds north of Point Hope and along the Arctic coast turning more southwesterly, 10 to 15 knots, and still a northeasterly component there, just north and northeast there of St. Lawrence Island. And a quick check of the surface weather maps. Low pressure will be situated tonight out over the North Pacific, wobbling back toward the west, weakening a bit on Tuesday with a couple troughs of low pressure rotating through, approaching the southwest peninsula and rotating through the eastern area of the Aleutians as high pressure begins to build into the state from far eastern Russia. And then on Wednesday, we will see high pressure firmly in place from eastern Russia across north-central areas into northwest Canada. Meanwhile, the pressure gradient strengthens across the southwest peninsula, with that low sitting out over the North Pacific. So that wraps up our show today. Thanks for watching, and be sure to join us again tomorrow.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.